Greetings, my terrestrial companions. So the date today is June 25th. It is certainly later than summer solstice. Just a little story before I dive into the divination. So generally, I offer these divinations for the coming 6 weeks on the equinoxes, solstices, and the days in between. And for the first time in I don't know how long, summer solstice came and went, and I forgot. But I have learned over the years that when I forget, that there is something to that. There's a timing issue going on. And so one thing about the solstices is that it's the most of one way or the other, right? So winter solstice, it's the most dark, and summer solstice, it's the most light, but that the sun starts to pause and then kind of turn around. And so for each, like in the winter, sometimes called the 12 days of Christmas, these days of when the sun, the length of the day or the night kind of doesn't change a lot day to day for those days. It starts to slow down and then it speeds up again, moving in the other direction, right? So one thought I had about forgetting on the actual day of summer solstice is that for these 10, 12 days, whatever it actually is, that the amount of sunlight in a day stays very similar. And then the days start to get shorter. So that's what I thought it was about. And then I thought, well, I'll see when I feel the right moment to do the divination. And then yesterday was when the Supreme Court came out with their decision about Roe v. Wade. And so I woke up this morning, well, yesterday, of course, I'm sure all of us had a variety and huge array of feelings and thoughts and everything. So I woke up this morning, the day after, thinking, yep, now I need the divination. So I am sharing. And often in these divinations, I use multiple decks. But I will be honest that when I really need some definite insight about a significant situation, I always go to the I Ching, which I've worked with since I was 23. So I pulled out the I Ching. I work with a translation by R.L. Wing. And then when I do these in this way, I don't toss coins. I have an I Ching deck, which is very non-traditional, but I pick, each card has a hexagram, and then I pick the card, and then I look into it and read the words about that hexagram. So I intended to pull 2, and I ended up getting another one, which I will mention later. But first, so each one had a question. And then I ended up pulling 2 from another deck, which I'll talk about in a bit, about guardians for us. So I pulled a card about, what do we need to know now about this and moving forward with this energy that we are now in. We're in a different unfolding reality. Like now, the way I would talk about it, you talk about it how you want, is that we were on one track before, wondering, is it going to happen? What if it happens? And now we're in a different unfolding, going this way. So we're on this road now, whether we like it or not. And so I pulled a card, and it's number 47 in the deck, there's 64 total. It's number 47. And the name is Adversity, but I want to set it up a bit because it's a very specific type or a specific version of adversity. So number 46, the one right before 47, of course, is advancement. It's one of the most in my opinion. It's one of the most forward-moving, go forth hexagrams. And I say hexagram because each number is based on a grouping of 6 lines, open and solid lines. Anyway, advancement, which is go forth. Then number 47 is adversity. And the whole point of this adversity is that it is a natural outcome or a part of the path right after advancement. So I'll read a bit of it, and then I will say one more thing about it that I have, the way I describe it. All right. Advancement, which is number 46, has progressed into adversity. This time of difficulty is a natural turn of events. It will present real problems, but they can be endured with the proper attitude. They may even lead exceptional people into success. When faced with adversity, remain emotionally stable and optimistic. Hold your fears in check. If you indulge in insecurities, you will succumb to the overwhelming urge of the times and lose yourself in losing. In all worldly matters, it will take extraordinary will to succeed. Your major difficulty at this time is that your words will not influence others. There is a possibility, in fact, that what you have to say will not be believed. To avoid confusion, rely instead upon actions. In social situations, be sparing of words. Let your deeds speak for you. Your strength of character and determination will appear through your veil of silence. Thus, the truth will become evident. When making evaluations in business and political matters, keep in mind that this time has been compared by the Chinese to a forest tree growing in a tight space, unable to spread its branches. Only through sheer will and determination can this restraining adversity be transcended. The last paragraph is always something on the introspective level, and it says this: both your inner development and physical health can benefit in some way from adversity if you can hold fast to your vision. Remember, if your spirit is broken, all is lost, so cast away negative or pessimistic thoughts. Since various kinds of external influence are denied you, your inner development is very much the focus and major necessity of this time. In your actions, the will is tempered and made strong as you struggle to overcome opposition and difficulty. So that is a particular take about adversity. One way, if I were doing a reading for someone, that I would describe this is that the previous hexagram, advancement, is like a wide open path. And sometimes that is life. It's a wide open path to go forth. And sometimes on a journey, we come to a place in the path where there has been a windstorm and trees have fallen all over the path, or a flood has wiped out the path seemingly, or made it much more difficult. It's not that we have screwed up or made it so. It's a turn of events. It's in its own way natural, even though, in this kind of situation, I'm sure we have a lot of thoughts about that. But the point is to not think of it as a personal failing, that instead we just need to keep going down the path, even though it is more difficult. All right, so that is one of them. The other question I had is, all right, then how do we proceed, especially with indications in the SCOTUS decision that came out about attempting to go after other rights. So how to go forward? Came out as number 20, which is contemplating. The season of the year flows into one another with fixed regularity, deviating only within themselves, but never in relation to one another. This is life. Unfortunately, there's no exception about that. So, but what it says is by contemplating what has happened so far, then we can determine unfolding patterns of events, which I think many folks are already foreseeing. This perspective is extremely powerful, and it helps us navigate how to go forward. And that there are seasons in life, and we are entering a different season, whether we like it or not. So by contemplating this present situation and taking note of what immediately preceded it, we will determine what will follow. So this is about being able to predict such tendencies and then contemplating the way to go forward. And that others are doing this as well. And then when we contemplate and see and meet and experience others who are contemplating in the same way, that then we can create trust among our associates and figure ways to move forward. One part of it is to be careful and look before we leap, because out of desperation or emotion, we might, any of us individually or collectively, might want to make an action that then ends up in hindsight not being the best approach. So these can be challenging times to figure and determine and plan and manifest the actions, pulling on the message from previous hexagram, that will weave us through this challenging part of our path. Something else to remember is that it says your relationships will develop, and through unity and cooperation, we can expand these relationships into new areas of personal and social importance. Keep in mind that at this time, we are being contemplated by others as well. The higher you rise in an attempt to see and contemplate, the more visible you become. So this is something that is a note of caution, is that as things move forward, to be very purposeful about action, because we are being watched. All right, so then I thought, well, we need some help. So I decided to pull from a deck that might be called The Truth Seeker's Guide by John Matthews and Will Kinghan. And these are different guardians. Now I realized after I pulled the first one, I ended up pulling a second one to counter it or to add to it. But I realized after pulling the first one that what I asked, it really does matter what we ask. What I asked is which guardian is with us now? And what came forth is the dancer of fear. And this paragraph is a message from the perspective of the guardian of fear speaking to us. Here's what it says. I am the dancer of fear. I teach you when to move forward and when to retreat, how to consider dangers you may be facing, and when to take risks. To master me is to become stronger, yet I can undermine everything if I am allowed to. When I am with you, you may be afraid to move, but I also protect you from the kinds of risk that can bring you to places of greater danger. And then I thought, oh, well, I asked who is with us. How about who do we need with us? And then I actually pulled one, and both the back sides of these two decks have the same color scheme. And so I realized instead of pulling from this deck, I pulled from the I Ching, and then it is what the name that came forth, even though it's not particularly a guardian, but I do think it's helpful, is grace. But then I did pull one from this guardian deck, and ironically, it is the Dancer of Life. And I think that this does bring up an issue that one of the dialogues, discussions, explorations going forward is, what is life, right? What, like a culture of life, the power of life, life above all. These are all, like, what does that mean? Someone's definition of that can be very different than one group's to another group. So the Dancer of Life, and here is what it says: I am the Dancer of Life. I celebrate all that is, all that has been, and all that will be. I dance throughout all the humor. Sorry, I need more light. My eyes. I don't think it says humor. There we go. I dance throughout all the human and spiritual realms, following the bright thread of life that connects everything that has being. I teach love, I teach strength, and I impart a belief in the sacredness of all living things. I bring with me the power that breaks down all barriers, that survives in the face of all odds, that shines forth in even the darkest of moments. Reading that, I think of the oak tree. And so the place of death in life. So the oak tree drops many acorns. Not all acorns become oaks. So on that note, oak trees also grow in circles. So the wisdom of these messages, I hope, has some benefit for you as we go forward on this path that we are now on. And these cards are for the next 6 weeks or so. Of course, they could be for any length of time, but I will be back with you in 6 weeks for the next turn of the wheel, and we will see where we are then. Remember, with the adversity hexagram, it's about action. What are your and my and our actions? What are our actions in these times? Take good care of yourself. You are important and needed here, and thank you for listening.